The first photo was taken using the intelligent auto mode. Now this camera doesn't actually have a specific macro mode, but it is able to tell when you're taking macro shots. The next one of the swans, now I was using about 15 to 20 times optical zoom, and you can see that the image is also very crisp. And the next one is of an aeroplane. This aeroplane was obviously moving, and I had zoomed in about 10 times, and I was actually tracking the aeroplane, and when I took the picture I was actually very pleased to see that the images weren't blurred at all. If you have some good lighting as well as a white backdrop, combine this with the manual mode, you're able to get some really good results in product photography. The next few photos are an example of the powerful 30 times optical zoom and the image quality that you can get from them. The first one is just an ordinary road with a lot of trees. Now with the 30 times zoom, I was able to fully zoom into one of the trees, and you can just see how good quality it is. The next example is at a beach, and you should be able to notice in the middle of the photo there is a seagull, and I was also able to zoom right in on him. The next example is absolutely insane. So somewhere in this photo there is a little boat, and it's very hard to see. Can you spot it? Well, if you can't, here it is. So with the 30 times optical zoom, I was able to zoom very close to the boat, and this was on a misty day as well. So the fact that it was able to pick up a good amount of detail was just absolutely mind-blowing. One negative thing about this camera is the inability to take decent photos at nighttime using automatic and the preset scene modes. So the first example you can see here, the image is quite noisy, and it gets even worse when using the optical zoom, such as this photo here. It just looks absolutely awful. Now if you're in an area where it's well lit, then you're going to get a decent result using the handheld twilight mode, such as this one here. This photo is actually pretty much accurate to how I saw it when taking the photo, so fair play to the camera for that. There's not really much blur in the photo, so it's not too bad. But if you want to get the most out of this camera, then you will need a tripod, and you will need to play around with the shutter mode. Now I have a few light sources behind me from the street lamps, but the main source of light is the moon, and I put this on a tripod and put the exposure for about 20 seconds, and the results were actually pretty good. And I wanted to also test what the zoom would be like when using shutter mode, and I got a really good result. So this is the photo I got when using 30 times optical zoom, and I think it's about 30 seconds of exposure. And yeah, not bad at all, considering I'm in Stokes Bay when taking this photo, and I was zoomed all the way into the Isle of Wight. So the results were actually very good. By using Program Auto and doing a few tweaks, such as changing the metering mode to spot and the auto white balance over to sunny, I was able to take some really stunning photos of the moon. Now it didn't matter even if I zoomed in all the way to 30 times optical zoom, I was able to get some really crisp images of the moon. You can use clear image zoom, but I personally didn't quite like the results as much as using the optical zoom, but it's really down to preference.